What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis in the flesh. Just got back from a weekend with MTash where we hung out, and I wanted to talk about something that's absolutely blowing up within the Destiny 2 community right now, and that is the topic of if the Subclass 3.0 changes were actually a mistake, if they harmed Destiny 2 instead of improving it. Now, where does all this come from? Well, it originates from Fallout Play's tweet right here, asking for Destiny 2 wild takes. Fallout Plays impression farming on Twitter, making a Destiny 2 take video? Must be a day that ends in Y. I love the guy. Now, this obviously spawned a whole lot of debate, but something that really caught my eye and really caught the eye of the community was this quote tweet right here from quote saying, Subclass 3.0 was a failure that's power crept the game into oblivion and homogenized subclasses as everyone just picks whatever's top tier in each category. Gameplay was more interesting when subclasses were split into distinct trees and we had to work with the pros and cons of each one. Quite the take. And originally when I saw this, I was kind of like, wow, I am a Subclass 3 enjoyer. I look back and remember when Subclass 3.0 changes were first introduced. You know, we started with Void and then it was Solar and Arc. I look back on that extremely positively. I remember having a ton of fun in those different seasons experimenting with the Subclass 3.0 changes. But now, since we're far removed from that time, looking back, looking at the landscape of the game right now, does this person have a point? Well, they absolutely do. And while I'm still not completely on the anti-Subclass 3.0 train, and I'll explain my positions as we go forward, I think there is some extremely good points brought up with this tweet. And first of all, the power crep thing. They're absolutely right about this. Subclass 3.0 has absolutely increased your power potential. For goodness sakes, you throw an arc pulse grenade these days, and it can obliterate an entire room of enemies. 3 pulse grenades, you're through a lost sector pretty much. Like, it is insane because they're not just normal pulse grenades. For years and years and years, it would be, you throw your pulse grenade, it pulses and does a set amount of damage over and over again. Enemies can move out of the way, whatever. But now it's going to be thrown, depending on your subclass choices, it's now going to increase in damage. Oh, and it's going to start jolting enemies nearby, causing them significantly more damage and also causing them to take more damage from you. Also, it's going to be producing stuff like ionic traces that used to only be a warlock thing, but now, like, my Titan can do all of this stuff. It is pretty insane what you can do. However, I'll kind of clap back here right away. I'm gonna be a little disagree Debbie right here, okay? Is the problem of power creep the fault of Subclass 3.0, or is it Bungie's failure to balance Subclass 3.0? Like, where would you blame the power creep, right? Subclass 3.0, introducing all the verbs, setting up the framework, like changing how the option to spec into a certain subclass works and having the aspects and fragment system. Like, the fact that that's powerful, again, is it the fault of the system? Could we still have the ability to choose aspects and fragments? And if Bungie went in and rebalanced everything, would it still be a positive system, right? So I think that's a little bit disconnected. I think you could definitely argue that, like, the framework that Subclass 3.0 adds, the aspects and the fragments, are still positive. It's not balanced properly right now. And also, part of these balance issues, I would really say, is not Subclass 3.0, it's the darn seasonal artifact. Like, it is absolutely crazy the benefits that you can now get from your seasonal artifact. I mean, before, you had to at least choose which ones you wanted, and you actually had to spend energy to equip those seasonal artifact mods into your subclass. So if you wanted, I think it's Lightning Strikes Twice, if you wanted the one that gives you faster regenerating arc grenades, it was like 7 energy. You had to spend a considerable cost to gain this benefit. Now, you are getting all passive bonuses. So, like, no wonder the Subclass 3.0s feel so darn popular. Using an Arc build right now, like the Arc Grenadier Titan, you feel like a god because you are getting more amplified time. You're getting damage resistance while you're amplified. You're getting way faster grenades, all as completely free passive bonuses. So perhaps that is another reason it feels so power crept, is because it's not just Subclass 3.0 that's powerful, it's this artifact that's taking its power to the next level. And I also wanted to talk about the aspect of player choice, saying, oh, everyone just picks whatever is top tier in each category, and the diversity of builds are not what we saw before. This is both incorrect and correct. And here's what I mean. So, first of all, I will say, don't pretend like in the old subclass system, people weren't still just picking the best bundle of perks. And honestly, I did not like the old subclass system. I think this is hateful. I absolutely hated it. For an RPG, the fact that your choices broke down into A, B, or C, like 3 different options, that's all you get. When other games have such diverse and interesting build crafting and build trees and all that stuff, I really didn't like the 3 different bundles of perks. I did not feel that offered you enough choice when it came to build crafting. So I was very happy with the Subclass 3.0 framework and adding aspects and fragments and all the different things you can do with them. However, this person is also absolutely correct when they say, like, the player choice is nowhere near what it should be with the Subclass 3.0 system. Because think about it. Yeah, the fragments are the same. Titan, Warlock, Hunter, they all get the same darn fragments, all right? So what really differentiates these different subclasses, between the 3 classes? Well, it's really going to break down to the aspects. And there's only 3 aspects per subclass. So I went into my favorite thing, Microsoft PowerPoint, and I made a little chart here. So with 3 aspects, A, B, and C, here are your options. You can have A go with B, you can have A go with C, or you can have B go with C. That is it. So with each subclass, you have 3 different build possibilities because Bungie only bothered to add 3 aspects. But if we now think, what if Bungie, really went hard and really went the extra mile and added a 4th aspect? What would that look like in terms of player choice? Well, here's the new chart. Now you can have A go with B, A go with C, or A go with D, the 4th choice, or B go with C, or B go with D, or C go with D. So you go from 3 possible combinations with the current number of aspects. You add 1 more aspect, guys. If Bungie added 1 more aspect, you're up to 6 potential choices. You double the build possibilities by adding 1 single aspect. I think that is a big part of the puzzle piece and a big part of the complaints that we're kind of missing here in this discussion. The framework for Subclass 3.0, the fact that you can combine these different aspects, combine those with these different fragments. You can potentially choose different abilities, right? Like, that's another thing. You have subclasses with 3 different melee abilities, and then you have subclasses with 1. Like, how does that make sense? And so again, like, stuff that doesn't have as much choice feels stagnant. Feels like everyone is just picking the meta choice, because why wouldn't you? There's only 3 different options, right? And actually, that's, funny enough, exactly what we had before. With the 3 different bundles of perks, now we still have 3 different options, but it's just a different framework. And yes, there's more diversity because now you're choosing what fragments to pair, but because the fragments are shared amongst all of the different classes, it doesn't feel as diverse and unique, right? Whereas, again, I think the aspects are really where Bungie could up the diversity. So that is the thing. Subclass 3.0 could be way more diverse, but Bungie has not invested in it fully. It's very similar to what just happened, guys, with Armor Charge. Bungie completely redoes the mod system. They add all these new Armor Charge perks. They simplify the system dramatically. And when I directly asked Bungie in an early access event, are you guys planning to add more armor mod perks? They said no. And they ended up adding 2 because people were complaining so much that, like, hey, why can't you, do your class ability and withdraw orbs to you and stuff like that? Like, we had that before. And so they ended up adding 2. And those 2 have been very good. Like, those 2 have actually improved builds quite a bit. But, like, why do they always do this? They add subclass 3.0s, right? They add a new armor charge system, and they're like, we'll never have to update this again. We did the perfect system here at Bungie. We'll never have to improve this. No, like add more armor mods, add more aspects, continuously add fragments, add more abilities, melee abilities, supers, and stuff like that to these subclasses that are lacking them, to have the diversity reach a level that is possible with this new framework. I keep saying framework because that's so important. Like the way subclass 3.0s are designed, it allows them to be infinitely diverse. It allows them to constantly have things added to them, whereas before with the 3 like bundles of perks, yeah, you could add another bundle of perks, but that's like an immense amount of effort, and will that ever actually get done? Whereas like adding a couple more fragments or an aspect, one season, and aspects for another element the next season, that makes a lot more sense. However, I did want to go over this person made some clarifications here saying gunplay in Destiny is basically dead because the only thing that matters is if your gun can apply elemental debuffs. Honestly, a good point nowadays, which is now even more important as champions are now stunned by debuffs. Destiny gameplay is peak when the focus is on your guns and subclasses accentuate combat. In my ideal world, I'd like to see a return to supers and aspects being tied down to predetermined identities and fragments being left alone to allow a little spillover into the gameplay trees. And mods would be tuned to be more focused on gunplay rather than ability spam. And I also want to go over everyone's favorite creator, Salt Greppo. He's a fantastic player. He's like raid world's first 2 or 3 times now, but he does have, I would say a little bit of controversial opinions, but undoubtedly he knows his stuff. And he says, power creep apart, I don't even like subclass 3.0s conceptually. Destiny 1 was way better in my opinion since the skills were different from class to class, while in D2 all the fragments are shared between classes and they're all super anonymous, mainly based around ability spam, and continues, the only good thing that subclass 3.0 gave us was the subclass verbs. Those are cool in my opinion. I also dislike all classes having all grenades, especially the healing ones. So interestingly, some of that went into what I was just talking about. When you have these shared things, grenades was brought up, but fragments, they're shared between all these different classes so they don't feel unique when it comes to build crafting. You have to rely on the thing that does feel unique, which is aspects, right? Aspects, and also, the abilities of the subclass themselves, melees, class abilities, stuff like that. And so that is the things that you need to diversify if you want the subclass 3.0 framework to work. But I would also say that, again, these people who are making, even though I slightly disagree with them, they're making excellent points, right? A weapon now. If you're using an arc class, your weapon had better jolt for the most part. If you're using a solar class, your weapon had better have incandescent for the most part. And these perks have really pushed aside a lot of the other perks in the game. Stuff like kill clip. Who cares about kill clip these days? But I also think it's very interesting that Salt brought up Destiny 1. Here's the Destiny 1 skill tree. And again, this is very different from what we saw in Destiny 2. Destiny 2 really dumbed it down, really simplified it into those distinct trees. But in Destiny 1, you kind of see shades of a more traditional RPG system where you pick a few different perks in these different slots, and every single class has different perks helping to improve identity. So that is another key factor. I think those are the things that have really been outlined. It feels like massive power creep. Absolutely correct. It feels like now when you're choosing weapons, subclass verbs are the most important thing. I would feel that for sure. And it feels like the identity and just the diversity isn't quite there, despite the framework of the possibilities of massive diversity being there, because so much stuff is shared. And I would agree with that too. So at the end of the day, I still don't think subclass 3.0's I don't think it was a failure. All right, maybe I'm a casual. I am a new dad now, so I'm officially a Destiny dad, okay? But I feel like what subclass 3.0 could be if Bungie invested in their ideas if they didn't just, you know, throw in the towel after a couple updates, I think it really provides the framework to have massive build diversity. That's the good thing, okay? However, that's a big if, right? Like, Bungie could just not do that. And then we have this existing framework that never gets improved. We never get more aspects. We never get more fragments. And we're kind of stuck in this position. And again, I think part of the blame really needs to be put on the seasonal artifact, if anything, because you get so many benefits in the seasonal artifact, and Bungie is so clearly having, you know, two different elements be the meta for a season. Like right now it's Arc. If you're not playing Arc, you're missing out on so many free passive benefits. Like, it's just kind of a feels bad system. And so I think because like the meta is so clearly defined by Bungie with this seasonal artifact, it kind of makes it feel like the subclass 3.0s aren't as diverse as they really are, because obviously you're going to be using whatever is getting the free passive benefits. So like what could have a lot of different builds only boils down to 2 or 3 being really meta in a season, because they're the ones getting all the benefits from the seasonal artifacts. So perhaps that seasonal artifact needs a look at. I'm totally okay with it providing big benefits, but perhaps bring back the costs, bring back actually having to sacrifice certain things to get access to these benefits. That could introduce more diversity as well. Either way, guys, very interesting topic. What do you guys think? Like, do you think subclass 3.0s were a good thing? Were they a bad thing? What would you have changed? Here's a good question. Would you, in your opinion, the best subclass build versions? Like, would you think it was Destiny 1 subclasses, right, and their different build identities? Destiny 2, the original with the 3 different trees? Or what we have now with subclass 3.0s? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, a little bit of a rant, a little bit of a discussion. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to slap subscribe. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.